Okay, and we are live. See how quickly this one fills up. I'm going to be a lot stricter with some stuff in here. I'll discuss that as some people flow in. But a reminder, since most of you watch these after the fact, please remember to subscribe down below. You now have to be subscribed a minimum of 10 minutes in order to post questions here. That'll weed out some of the nonsense. That's actually the advice I give on here. And so please remember to subscribe, join my Orc Army below, follow me on Instagram, follow me on Facebook, and use my Amazon affiliate link. Humanity's Heroes, I'm going to give you one warning, by the way. You ask a lot of bullshit questions. That's the only warning I'm going to give you. I'm just going to ban you without saying anything the first bullshit question you ask, okay? And I think that's fair. I've given you a lot of leeway. I've given you a lot. So I think that's perfectly fair. Even a bunch of other commenters have said to just ban you. So it's going to be the other thing. I'm not going to discuss trolls. I'm just going to ban them silently. And I'm not even going to give them any acknowledgement through here because I had to ban about 8 yesterday. That will include questions about my personal life. Again, perfectly fair. We're here to teach you guys. All right, here to teach you guys. So let's get over to some of these questions. Hey, Jason, how much should we increase max on upper and lower lifts after a cycle of 5-3-1? I don't know. How many reps did you get on your plus sets? Nate? Do you see the problem with it? You might have to reduce them. You might have to leave them the same and then figure out what's going on wrong. Is your volumes too high overall? You're not getting enough food. You're not getting enough sleep. You might not be able to increase them at all. Worst case, you have to reduce them. I would base it on how many reps you're getting on the plus sets. If you're getting 5, 3, and 1, I would absolutely not increase anything, even a single ounce. Okay. You hit 5, 3, 1, 2 cycles in a row, you need to very seriously reevaluate your fatigue management. And I do see a lot of people run 5, 3, 1, and I look at their volumes and I'm like, you're not on a massive dreamer bulk. Why are you guys doing that many sets? You're not blasting gear. Why are you doing so many sets? Okay. That's kind of the point I tell guys. Unless you're on a crazy ass bulk where you're gaining a lot of fat, you start exceeding 10 to 12 sets per muscle group and you're not on drugs. If you wonder why you're not making progress, that's probably why. It's probably why. So just an FYI. Optimal weight class for someone who's 5'9". That is very nuanced. Depends on body fat, depends on level of enhancement. Right? I can tell you drug-free 5'9". Maybe the 198 tops. Maybe the 198 tops. But, you start looking at the high levels, there's a lot of successful 220s and 242s at the world level at 5'9". Now, they're obviously not natty, So just be aware of that. But it's going to depend on your optimal weight class for you is going to depend on how big you are. Because if you tell me optimal for someone who's 5'9", I'm assuming you've put in 10 or 12 years of really hard work and you maximize most of your muscle mass. You've only been training 5 years and your optimal weight class for 5'9" isn't going to be optimal. Might need to be lower. Hi, Jason. Do supinated grip invertebrates have any merit? Good. I'm not a fan. They're hard on your bicep tendons. And really, they're not even that great of a bicep exercise. You're doing them to get more bicep involved. Chin-ups, curls, everything else work better than any form of row does for biceps. So no, but they are notorious for tearing bicep tendons. One of my Orc Warriors, any reason you decided to pause your squat today? I didn't really. I was just trying to sink it. Benny, it just happened when I was just trying to sink it nice and deep. It was a very brief pause. I wouldn't count it as a true pause squat. Like that wouldn't count as a pause bench in competition. That level of pause, you could probably get red lighted for not pausing long enough on a bench. So wasn't really paused. It was a very, very brief pause. I was just trying to get deep. Hey, Jason, I'm sorry for my off-topic questions in the past. Your warning is fair. Thanks. My question, if my upper body strength significantly lags behind lower body, how do I address that? It's good training. You may not be eating enough. Maybe you have balanced training, and because you're used to seeing upper body bros, you think that you're imbalanced. But you've been training upper and lower the entire time you started. Therefore, you are more balanced than the average person, which leads you to believe you have an imbalance. But if benching and stuff is weak, you maybe just need to bulk more. Sometimes I feel nauseous after training legs, especially when I finish with Bulgarian split squats. Has this happened to you or any of your clients? No, not really. What are you eating before you train? Maybe it's your diet. Maybe you're eating too much fiber, too much food volume before you train. Maybe save it for after. It's usually it. Or maybe you're out of shape. What's your conditioning look like? What should my rep and set range on exercise? I don't answer questions like that, Shivan, because you need to follow a program. Shivan, if you need to ask questions like that, you're not qualified to write your own program. So that means that you need to pick a program and you need to follow it. And so then you still wouldn't be picking your own sets and reps, right? Pick a proven system, 5-3-1 or whatever, starting strength, any of my novice programs, and run them. And don't deviate, because anyone who's asking a question of your level doesn't know how to program. So you have no business adjusting anything or writing anything for yourself. You're going to get subpar results. Follow an existing system. Thanks for the answer, Jason. I actually haven't done them. Was just curious. Yeah, and I'm not a fan, Ryan. And I know people are going to be like, but your client Louis does them, because sometimes when he hurts due to his medical issues, it's the only pull we can do that doesn't hurt. I really am uncomfortable with him doing that. What rep range do you like for face pulls? 20 plus. If I'm going to have someone do them. Do you think someone who gets strong touch and go bench will have some carryover to their pause? Yes, but it won't be as good. You're going to get more fatigue and less carryover to your pause bench, which is really how we measure bench press. And you're not going to build as big a pecs. All right, future, how many guys out there, when we know based upon all the research that the bench press is one of the best chest builders ever invented, still say, oh, my chest doesn't get big from it? All right, you see that? How many of them touch and go bench? I'm going to say 99.9% of them. So just keep that in mind. Hey, Jason, what's a good long-term goal for Power Good Mornings for a 5'9"? I don't know that I would. I quit maxing on Good Morning and prescribing it a long time ago. I question the utility. If you're doing more than 225 to 275 for your work sets for high reps, I really question the utility of doing that from a fatigue management perspective on Good Mornings. Right? You're a great coach. Thanks for your hard work. Well, thank you, brother. Hey, coach, I'm excited to start my first week soon. Looking forward to gains that are coming. Oh, hey, what's up, Nathaniel? Yeah, I'll have your program written in the morning. I'm going to be down writing programs. I'll have you up and going tomorrow. He's a new client who just came on. And we're going to have some interesting results from him because he's already lost over 100 pounds of body fat and built a decent strength base already. So now we're going to get him real strong while he keeps getting down to a healthy body weight. I think this guy's got some potential. Jason, super happy right now because I found a way to do weighted shins with my limited gym equipment and space. Yeah, they're not that hard to find ways. You just got to be creative. Fortunately, that's kind of the things with shins and pull-ups. They're easy to find a way to do. You can do them almost anywhere with very minimal equipment. Do you find that an 85% training max works better for any of your clients? Yeah, if I need runway to build them up. You're right, coach. My bench sucks because of my small upper body mass. I think pausing will help my pecs grow because of the maximum stretch position at the bottom, right? Well, it's not the stretch position, it's the mechanical tension. The bench doesn't usually give a super deep stretch reflex on the pecs. There are other exercises that do that better, but it does have to do with creating the most mechanical tension on the pectorals, right? Hi, Jason. What do you think about using Good Mornings as part of a core training session of supersetting with leg raises? No, I wouldn't do that. Jason, if bodybuilders are all about hypertrophy, why do they never pause their bench? Never understood this. Because, Alex, because they're about hypertrophy, but they don't always know anything about hypertrophy. When that fails, they just up the dose, bro. They just up the dose, bro. Also, guys, we're 10 minutes in. There are at least 3 people watching for every like. So I'm going to drink water and not talk until those likes go up. You guys can watch me drink water. I want to see a few more. Get the likes to at least 50% of the people viewing. Or like 4 away. Come on. A couple more. Giving me time to drink more water. Thanks, guys. I'm going to get super hydrated here. There we go. Hit it. All right. Maybe not the training style you endorse, but would 8x2 at 85 to 90% give a viable, not optimal hypertrophy response? You do 8 doubles at 90%, you're going to be buried. You talking about a true 90%? You're going to do 16 total reps in one workout at 90%. And I want you to tell me why you think this is a good idea. I can tell you that's real bad programming. That's real bad programming. People wonder why they get hurt. That type of fatigue management causes injuries. And no, it will not give you a particularly good hypertrophic response. Your total quality volume is a little too low to maximize hypertrophy there. But what you will do is beat your body into the fucking ground. So less gains and more injuries. That's doesn't sound optimal to me. Doesn't sound fun. I like getting gains and not getting hurt. I don't like getting hurt while making no gains, right? It's not good. If someone's goal is only hypertrophy, I would tell them to go fuck themselves. That would be my response to someone's only goal is hypertrophy. I would tell them to go fuck themselves and not waste my time. Sorry, brother. I don't like those people. They're useless. You don't want to perform at all. Your only goal is hypertrophy. You don't care about the ability to be healthy, fit, athletic, strong, just hypertrophy. Well, that person is a completely useless piece of shit. So fuck them. Now, that being said, let's get over to the next question. You guys got a little outburst out of me there. I really feel that way about those people. It actually makes me sick to my stomach. I honestly find pause benching easier to do than touch and go benching, probably because you got more practice at it. You probably have strong pecs. Coach, about me following a program, did your novice program for 5 months. Should I start 5-3-1 or only for powerlifting? No, do 5-3-1. What makes you think 5-3-1 is specifically for powerlifting? It's an overall size, strength, and athletic program. It's a general purpose program. Any particular reason why the good mornings are not recommended? You want to do good mornings for conditioning, Coach? Kala TV. Again, we come back over. Do you like getting hurt? Do you enjoy being injured? I don't. Therefore, I don't think good mornings are a good conditioning exercise because I don't like getting hurt. If I want conditioning, I want to get conditioned out of it. I don't want to get injuries out of it. See, the purpose of conditioning work is to raise your GPP, not to hurt yourself. All right? Think that one through. Good mornings need to be controlled with good fatigue management. They're a great exercise, but you can't play with them like that. Hey, Coach, do you think genetics are often a cop-out for people who do not push your true limits for strength potential? Yes, absolutely. Are body weight dips useful for increasing bench press beyond the novice stage? For some people, they are. I mean, Johnny, has having bigger pecs or triceps ever made your bench weaker? Humanity, didn't we just talk about this? Didn't I give you a warning? You already know my stance on recomping. You already know which group of people can do it. Okay, that's the last warning. Do you think power building is basically what you program since your lifters get strong and look jacked? No, because some of my people compete in powerlifting. Future power building. Okay, let me explain what power building really is. It's a marketing buzzword that basically means train with powerlifting training, but don't step on a platform. Right. The only difference between a power builder and someone who follows real powerlifting programming is one of them steps on a platform and the other doesn't. That's it. So it's basically powerlifting, really, but it also applies to other sports. I train my tennis players the same way. I train my golfers the same way. Very sim. I train a lot of my fighters very similarly. Why? Because size and strength carries over. All right, not even going to mention why I banned someone. Jason, how much weight per week should you gain if a novice and are bulking? How tall are you and how fat are you already? Not per week, it's per month. I like a lot of novices as a baseline around 2 pounds a month. However, that can vary depending upon the person, their height, their body fat, maybe more, maybe less. It's a good starting point. I can count with one hand how many times I've seen in gyms over the years guys boss bench. Well, I think that's ridiculous. Yeah, you must train at some really bad gyms. How far do you think we are from the max lifting potential? Do you think we'll ever see 750? Ben, I don't think we should worry about those sort of hypotheticals. Like, why would we even ask something like that? Why don't you let someone get to 505 before you even worry about a 750? You guys ask weird questions when it comes to strength potential. Why don't we break world records by 20 pounds before we start worrying about breaking world records by 400 pounds? You kind of see the point there? Think about how silly that is. You should be asking, Jason, do you think we will ever see someone deadlift 520 kg in your lifetime? Raw? Like raw? Not what strongman does. They use all sorts of equipment. Raw, I don't think we'll even see that in my lifetime. Maybe one day. Could deficit deadlifts replace deadlifts for back off work? For some people, I don't necessarily think that you should by default. We know wide stance squat put more size and strength in you narrow stance squats. Does sumo deadlift put more size and strength in you conventional? No, because that's a very different biomechanical comparison. Keep in mind on the sumo deadlift, you may be losing peak mechanical tension. You're losing a lot of back work at the point where it removes range of motion, right? You're losing a lot of back development. Does angle of pull make that big of a difference for dumbbell rows for emphasizing upper back or lats, or should you just commit to a standard angle of pull? That's too nuanced to answer. Yes, it matters, but you could just commit to a standardized angle of pull. Like it's not that big of a deal. Jason, how do you feel about Robert Oberst saying the deadlifts have much higher risk and reward to stage pro athletes? I think he's full of shit on there. And I said that when he made the video. Years ago, when he made that statement, I made a response video. Go back and watch it. I like power GM more than squats because when squatting, I tend to get knee, not tendon pain, probably a weak quad, bad ankle mobility. No, it's not your ankle mobility. You need to learn to squat wider. You need to build your hamstrings. Power good morning is not going to replace all the benefits of a squat. Coach, I know you aren't a fan of overhead press these days, but I've yet to see someone with a strong overhead press that has a weak bench. Just saying, I have, Benny. I suppose power building is pretty much the same thing for general strength. Yeah, I mean, it pretty much is. Is a 15% body fat the healthiest range for an athletic males in their 20s and 30s? Probably. Hello, coach. Is doing goblet squats with a plate a good alternative if I don't have dumbbells? Thanks. Yes, if you remember Jack number 1, he used to do them that way. Right? Perfectly reasonable if you don't have access to dumbbells. It works fine, actually. Jason, I'm trying to convince my gym buddy, and I to run your Ice Cream Fitness 505. However, he claims he hates low reps and only cares about hypertrophy. He does 10 minimum per set. How can I convince him? Why waste time with him? Alex, why waste your time trying to convince someone of anything that they're not interested in being convinced in? You're going to have a very, very miserable life if you live your life that way. I don't try to sell people. Either they want to listen or they don't. I don't have time for people who don't want to listen. And you need to learn to be the same way. You're going to be real unhappy and unfulfilled in life unless you can learn to approach the world from that perspective. You can't control the decisions of others. I wouldn't waste my time. Hey, coach, currently on 531, boring but big. I feel the press day is almost an off day after training. While I'm beat up after squat and deadlift day, should I do more accessories or take advantage of the recovery time? You take advantage of recovery time. Disavow, keep in mind, I'm doing good, and some of my clients are with just a squat, bench, and deadlift day, 3 days a week. So take advantage of the time. Usually that's what a lot of people who do 531 end up saying is that press day ends up turning into arm day, basically, for them. Does creatine increase strength? How much? 10%. There's nothing you can take that will increase your strength 10%. Barring 10% changes in muscle mass, like, you're talking about drugs at that point, right? You're talking about anabolic drug level gains. 10%. You'll be lucky to get 1% out of creatine. You're a super responder if you get 1%. Some people get nothing. I get nothing. I take it because the benefits are documented and it has health benefits. But usually the data is going to be you'll gain a rep. Like, it's not even going to be to your max strength. What you're going to see is like your 10 rep max, you'll be able to get 11 reps with it, right? That's not a 10% increase in strength. It gives you sometimes a little bit more, a slight increase in like muscular stamina inside of a couple of your sets before they fatigue. GP, I appreciate the donation, brother. And yeah, that 505 squat was easy. I thought some people were asking, oh, I thought you weren't maxing like that. That wasn't a max. I plan on walking in and squatting that at my next meet without it being a max also. All right, the goal is a 10 kilo PR on each of my lifts next comp, and then do the same thing the meet after for Worlds, which will give me a world record in the deadlift. But I didn't max on the deadlift either at this last meet. I injured my elbow in BJJ, and squat or good morning pain free. What would you recommend to maintain strength? Do what you can do. Look, if you have an injury, you train around it. You do the exercises that you can do, and you don't work the body parts that you can't. That's always how we work around injuries. I will try wider squats for curiosity. Wouldn't power GMs bring the same benefits as a squat except for quads? No, Roman, I really don't feel that it does. And that's why I say always kind of stick with what I currently say. I do shift my opinions a little bit. And honestly, I've found that, yes, the other can get guys strong, but just the high specificity squatting itself works for overall athleticism and strength also. But again, the other's only going to work for people who have good squat mechanics. So kind of the point you made, it's going to depend on body structure. Certain people who aren't built to squat, they're going to need the higher specificity, and they're going to need other quad work on top of just the squatting. And those people are also not the best prospects for good mornings. So you're talking about people with short femurs can get away with what we're describing there more. And it's just an observation as a coach, coaching for years and more years at this point. Coaching a wide variety of body types, getting people of different body types and genetics strong. Certain things like that are only going to work for certain demographics. And just because we can get away with it doesn't mean it's optimal. And that's the thing to remember. Could we get there 5% faster doing something better? Hey, Jason, just started a new wave of 531 and I've substituted the press for closed grip bench press while doing boring but big. 2, do you think it's a good idea or be too much bench volume? Why don't you just cut the press day out in that case? Just bench once a week. Right? you can get all of your volume in one day just fine. I mean, you could do a second bench day, but you're not going to have any accessory work. That's going to be too much. So if you do a wider grip bench and a closer grip bench day, don't do any supplemental work other than your boring but big. That's it. Unless you need a little triceps, but you may not even need that with a close grip day. Otherwise, you can get into way too much pressing volume. You're going to overtrain. Hey, coach, I'm on a push-pull leg split with 0 rest days. Well, you're an idiot. I'm hitting 2 workouts a day, generally about 45 minutes in the morning and 45 minutes in the evening, plus 20 minutes of low intensity. Yeah, you're risking all sorts of overuse injuries. Drop that silly shit. Hey, Jason, is there a notable difference between sleeping 8 hours versus 6 plus 2? Possibly. Besides yourself, do you recommend any coaches a coach conjugate? Yes, but you can't get them. So, AB, the problem is all coaches have a wait list. Can you afford the other coaches? Right? Can you afford them, or are you willing to wait 2 years to be on a wait list? There are plenty of good coaches. They're full. You could maybe join their team and one of their under coaches will coach you, but they're not going to coach you. So that's the problem you run into. It's not that there aren't good coaches. It's that they're so successful that you can't hire them. Do you believe people should pause on their overhead press at future? I think they should, but good luck getting people to do it. Look how many of my clients I actually in their vlogs say, yeah, I keep telling them to pause, but they won't do it. And they're paying me to tell them what to do. So when I tell people to do it for free who aren't even paying me, they're not going to do it. People's egos get in the way. They got to pause. They can't lift as much weight. Liberal Bill, you already know that you've seen me before my cut squat 600 pounds. This is kind of common knowledge. I'm thinking of running a program called Spinal Tap 5 Pro for 531 Forever. It's where all 531 sets in a cycle are combined into one day. What do you, I'm not a fan. Thoughts on full? I like having a full stomach. Yeah, I like being full. I don't like being hungry. Jason, if a novice lifter who just became intermediate becomes inactive from the gym for half a year, should he go back? Nope, he needs to go back to an intermediate program. He could do like 3 weeks of some fast linear progression, build back up, and go back in an intermediate program. You're not a novice. Do not run a novice program again. Is there any benefit at all to fatigue? Want to train the poor, stimulus fatigue movements, does more fatigue, burn more calories? No, fatigue is part of the growth process. Look, you can't separate stimulus and fatigue completely. AB, you can't do it. Humanities, that's a silly question again. Didn't we just talk about this? Humanities, you don't use words like gluconeogenesis if you don't know what they mean. How would it be not happen? It would be impossible to turn it off. Like, unless I have some weird metabolic disorder, it's going to happen by default. What do you mean, am I seeing it? I haven't died yet, so clearly I don't have any weird metabolic disorder that's causing this. Would you recommend a cambered multi-grip bar or a conventional multi-grip bar running 531 boring but big and plan to use it to add to some? That's just too complicated of a question. Cambered multi-grip bar or a conventional multi-grip bar. I don't know. Maybe you could. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. I have all those bars, by the way. I actually have both of those bars. I don't really use them. How much gains are we leaving on the table if by leaving reps in reserve on 531 plus sets? You're not leaving any gains off the table. Patty, there is no muscle loss by leaving a couple reps in reserve. Thoughts on IPF World Champion Use Oliver who just squatted 992 bench, whatever. Well, I think he's really, really strong. Do you think maltodextrin is an unhealthy carb source? It's not phenomenal. It's kind of empty calories. Skulls, I'm not interested in going into whatever his individual technique is. Hey, Jason, My Elch coach posts on Facebook, there is no difference in strength and hypertrophy for the pause, bench, and touch and go. What do you think of this? I think he's wrong. Hey, Jason, do you ever plan on expanding your coaching business to the point where you have coaches working under you and to manage the operations? Matthew, potentially, yes. Yes. That is a viable option in the long term. How can I increase the weight on my goblet squat without killing my biceps? Normal progressive overload. Go slowly. If someone misses a maximum conjugate, do you just assess what the weak point was in their lift and close the moment to strengthen the weak point? Future, we have a serious talk about why are they missing lifts. Yes, we assess the weak link, but we talk about why are they missing lifts, and we start talking about deloading because you can't be missing those lifts like that. Now that you're doing live streams, are you going to start doing AdWords for brands like Butte Apron or Quip? Charles, you need to explain yourself so that I don't think you're a troll and ban you. I don't know what Blue Apron or Quip are. Okay. What does that have to do with life? I've never heard of these brands. I don't know what they sell, and I don't understand your question. I don't watch live streams for the most part, so I don't know what other people do in their live streams, by the way. Okay, I didn't see that, but 600 pounds under 250 is insane. Yeah, liberal, I was up in the 240s, and then I cut down to do the 198. My squat will keep going back up. All right, I plan on breaking the world record for my class. Coach, if someone has made good, reliable programs like you but has no coaching experience, could they be a good coach starting out? No, because it's not just programming. Coaching requires you to be able to work with people and to assess individual things. They need experience, and that only comes with experience. They're off to a good start, but they need experience to be a good coach. AV, I'm not going to break all this down again with the good mornings. Understood, but good mornings work the same muscles as the no, they don't. Good mornings do not work all the same muscles as the deadlift. They work some of the same muscles as a deadlift. I'm 6'5", 250, made most of my newbie gains, but also got fat. Okay, we'll cut down a little bit and then bulk again. When you were doing inverted rows, did you do them for max reps? No, I usually left a rep in the tank. You seen Picture Fit promoting, I don't know what Picture Fit, what are you talking about? English, motherfucker, do you speak it? I don't know what any of that means. Picture Fit. I know what those words mean, but this sentence has no meaning to me. Thoughts on IPF World Champion? We already answered that one. I think I'm uncoachable like you are. I have a problem with people telling me what to do, or these live streams are very helpful. Yeah, I'm uncoachable. That's why I don't hire a coach. I'm a good coach. Actually, many of my clients say I'm a great coach. They love me as a coach, and you'll see them say in public I'm a great coach. I'm not coachable as a person. I don't like people telling me what to do. Again, it's a problem for me. I tend to respond very aggressively when people tell me what to do. You people probably figured it out in the live streams and my comments. Hey, Jason, I think you should do this. Well, I think you should go fuck yourself. Oh, that was uncalled for. No, it wasn't. You told me what to do. That makes you my mortal enemy. I hate you now. This doesn't work. We're incompatible. Jason, how much neck training does it take to develop sleep apnea? I don't know. It's never, the exact amount has never been studied. It's never been studied. To close this out. Sorry, my sister. I'll have to text her back later. Coach, did you ever play football? Nope. If wide stance squats carried over to narrow, but not the other way around, would anyone train narrow stance outside of the Olympic lifters? If you're working through an injury or overuse, yes. Probably not as a primary. You'll get bigger and stronger with a wider stance if your hips allow for it. Now, CN, keep in mind, there are some people whose hip structures don't allow for it. So technically for them, the narrower stance is a wide stance. So we do need some context there. The hip structures do vary in people. With running 531, do you recalculate your training maxes based on your +1 sets when starting the next cycle? Yes. Missing lifts in training is actually a much bigger problem than people realize. Yes, it is. What are your opinion on the more than 2 times a week frequency for power lifts if it allows more volume? I think you should only do that when you're young. You're not going to do that as a master's lifter. Your joints will get chewed up. You can get paid for ads and announce these live streams are brought to you by X brands, but some would probably only be brands you would associate with. Yeah, Ben, I have no idea how any of that works. Have you ever tried deadlifting in Sabo? I don't know what Sabo shoes are. I like my Chucks. Good morning versus RDLs for long femored lifters. Have you seen a difference in effectiveness amongst your clients? To some extent, but honestly, good morning versus RDLs is more of what we're trying to target in fatigue. Yes, there are obviously differences in femur length that affect the biomechanics. That wouldn't be a reason why we wouldn't do them, though. Picture Fit, a YouTube channel with like 1 million subs, recently posted a video where he was promoting main gaining instead of a bulk or a cut. Oh, okay. How much correlation between strength and size? Seems like there's a lot of debate on this. Liberal, about 90%, according to the research. The answer may be how long is a piece of string, but how do you think it should take? How long should it take? Yeah, that's like asking how long is a piece of string. 3 months, it could take you 3 years. Those are extreme ends, obviously. For most people, it's obviously somewhere closer to the middle. But if it takes you more than a year, there's a problem. There's something wrong. Jason, any benefits of the Swiss bar benching? Yeah, it changes your shoulder angle. Uses a little less delt, a little more tricep. For some people, it's easier on their shoulder joints. It can be useful during periods of shoulder inflammation. Hey, Jason, what do you think of sprints and hill sprints on rest days while cutting? As long as you're not adding them in. If you were doing sprints and hill sprints while you were bulking, it's probably fine to keep them in while cutting. You shouldn't add them in. It's going to cause you an adaptation and overtraining issue. Jason, what are you thinking of training 1 to 2 reps in reserve and only taking the last set of the movement to failure? I don't think you should take sets to failure, Alex. Why can't you do 2 to 3 reps in reserve on everything? You still make the same muscle gains. Are there any strength benefits to doing lateral raises or just aesthetics? It might be for some people. Some people may get some bench carryover, but it's probably mostly for look. But it depends on the person. Jason, would you say 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight is adequate when bulking? Depends on the person, what you're doing. Are you talking about just muscle growth? Sure, that's actually above the threshold. If we're talking about maximizing body composition, we're talking about controlling appetite for maybe people who have high appetites even when bulking. Are we talking about gaining slightly less body fat on your bulk? We're talking about better tendon health. There might be benefits going even higher. How are you reintroducing coffee into your diet without having it affect your recovery? I drink all of it by 7 a.m. and I cut it off. And so far, it's been fine this week. I did shake a little. If you guys notice, I did hit the coffee a little hard at 6 a.m. and I did shake slightly on that squat today. If you look on the eccentric, I'm shaking a little bit. And that was the coffee jitters. But I'm sleeping just fine. I'm sleeping 9 hours a night, so I'm okay. So there's no downside at this point. But I'm going to limit it. I'm going to cut coffee off at 7 a.m. always. Best 3 exercises to build a massive Christmas tree back like yours, or is a narrow waist? Pull-ups, chin-ups, rows, deadlifts. Is incline bench a good accessory for people with a delt weakness on bench? Yes, if it's safe on your shoulders. Should I worry about omega-3 to omega-6 ratios for overall health? All the leading experts say no. That was a hypothesis that some nutrition people came up with 15 to 20 years ago that's been debunked since then. That's a very, very outdated idea. It's not practical and it doesn't seem to have health benefits. But it was a hypothesis that people proposed, and there were some people who made their whole living off of it, like what's that guy who made those perfectly blended 369s? But he was a supplement salesman. But I forgot his name. I completely forgot his name. He made his whole career off that. Right? He made his whole career off of selling the blended oils. Is Other neck training besides the movement patterns I've seen you do, a bad idea. It's just probably not necessary. I mean, the same, you could do similar things. I'm not saying you have to do it with a harness. You could use towels and other stuff. Jason, can you tell if someone is using steroids from their strength levels? Not automatically, no. You can look at their body composition and stuff, though. But not everyone who uses steroids gets great gains. Okay, Ed, there's a lot of people who are small and weak in spite of using heavy doses. Maybe they're just lazy. Maybe they haven't put the time in yet. Maybe they're not super responders. I've seen plenty of them out there. But there's a certain threshold to where you can tell that someone is on. But just because someone hasn't gotten great results doesn't mean they're natural. Believe me. I have seen plenty of guys who admitted to using 2 grams of gear, which is crazy high, even by my opinion, who are sub 400 pound squatters, by the way, who are actually trying to squat. Okay, Jason, do you recommend training 1 to 3 reps in reserve for all your sets year round? Yes, you can even take some a little lighter than that. Thinking about switching barbell curls to weighted chin-ups to help put size on my arms is a good change to make. I mean, if biceps are a major issue for you, you could do both. I'm going to be doing both this week, by the way. You guys saw me do chins, and then on my bench day, I'm going to start working some curls back in because my biceps are particularly small right now. I can tell on my chin-ups, my chins are limited big time by my biceps. So if they're a major weakness for you, you could actually do both. Just watch your total volume. Like if it's a serious weakness for you, then it might actually behoove you to do both. Because if biceps are too weak, it can even affect your bench press negatively as a stabilizer and power out of the bottom. It could even increase your risk of bicep tears, if you're a super strong deadlifter. So even if you're not chasing a look, there are disadvantages to having too weak and too small the biceps. I'm kind of at that point right now. So I kind of need to put the extra work in personally. Jason, do you remember the first time you worked out? Yes, I do. I have a high appetite even on a bulk. I'm a bottomless pit, just like you, Jason. Yeah, you need more protein, up the protein. One of my orc warriors, would you recommend sled drags if I have to drive a mile to a nice patch of grass? Would be better look for alternatives. No, if you can drive there, it's fine. Do you get hungry on your current meal setup? Yeah, Greg, I get hungry year round. I get hungry even on a 5,000 calorie bulk. It's just unavoidable. I just have to tolerate it and drink more water. My last meal of the day, I had a bunch of vegetables with it. And I've had 400 grams of protein for the day. I'm done eating. I've already finished my feed window. But I have to pound the water down. Is there a benefit to doing bicep curls at different angles, or can you maximize hypertrophy? Yeah, James, there's no benefit. In fact, if anything, a lot of these alternative bicep curls seem to stimulate less bicep. The bicep is not a complicated muscle. All right, some people just have genetically really good biceps, and so then people are like, well, how come they have such great? Well, they've got good genetics for it. It's not because of their magical exercise selection. I watched your recent training vlogs. Noticed you hit a max. I haven't been hitting maxes. Yeah, I've got whole videos explaining that actually of how we get hypertrophy from those light weights. If they're done as back off work, I've got whole videos in my feed, plenty of vlogs. There's too much to cover in here. I've got a lot of detailed information on that. Udo Erasmus was the omega-3 blend guy. That's it. It was Udo Erasmus. You were right. Do you take vitamin E to help preventing oxidation of omegas? I was for a while, Ben, but now my diet is high enough in vitamin E that I don't supplement it. So it's kind of gone back to the back of my supplement stash. I'm actually not supplementing any vitamins other than a small amount of D3 right now. And I'm only taking 2,000 units. That's the only vitamin. I'm pretty much supplementing minerals right now, right? Magnesium, potassium, a little extra sodium actually with my lower carbs. But I'm not really even adding vitamins to the mix because they're all on point with my diet. Is it normal for anabolics to significantly increase appetite? Some increase it, some decrease it. How many reps in reserve? Oh, these are getting buried. All right, let me scroll down and just get down here. The ones I can finish. Should I count deadlifts as full sets for upper back and lats? No, I don't know that I would count it for full sets for those. Those are stabilizers, and don't get me wrong, they're enormous stabilizers. The lats are. I don't know that your lats will really see the same growth that they will off of, say, pull-ups or chin-ups. You'll get some extra stimulus, but keeping in mind it's more isometric stress. Now, if you weren't doing any lat work and you were to do heavy deadlifts, your lats would grow, though. For traps, I think that's fair. I personally and a lot of my clients see a lot of upper and middle trap growth from deadlifts, even just adding volume deadlifts in. I've observed it a lot firsthand. Lats, I wouldn't go so far as to say that. And it's not that they can't stimulate them. It's just that it's quite a bit less on its own when compared to like pull-ups or chin-ups. They're just so much better. How often would you recommend maxing out, moving out the intermediate stages? I don't have many of my lifters other than conjugate people max. And even then, I type to do it winning style and have them hit training max. Like if you saw Mike today, I uploaded his bench. That wasn't a max. It was nice and clean, pretty training max. It was above 90%, but he had a nice, pretty 350 paused, and then he locked it in less than 2 seconds, right? So even then, we only do training maxes for them. How does low intensity exercise like walking 3 miles a day have any interference effect on strength gains? No, not as long as the calories are remade up for. Are you aware of high protein intake increasing mTOR being linked to accelerated aging and longevity research? No, that seems to be nonsense, honestly. I've heard you say X is not a complicated muscle, really, but I don't think I've ever heard you say X is a particularly. Delts are a very complicated muscle. So there you go. Deltoids are easily 3 to 4 times as complicated as biceps are. Liberal, I'm about, you're gone because you already know I've answered all that. I didn't max in competition. I told you I wasn't going to max in competition. So I've had enough of you. You're gone. Bye. Just added good mornings to my back. That will also remove your ability to post on my channel. Just added good mornings to my back last week, and they feel fantastic. Wish I had jumped on the train sooner. Really don't enjoy RDLs. Yeah, I mean, the good morning is a slightly more versatile exercise, and that's really the advantage that it has. I like both. They both have their place in training. I prescribe both. I prescribe a wide variety of different good mornings. It's kind of a Swiss Army knife of hip hinges. How many reps in reserve for single joint exercises? 1 to 2. Jason, I can pause overhead press 60 kilograms for 5x4, squat 140 for 3x5. How can I only pause bench 80 for 3x5 and deadlift 150? You're probably squatting high, first of all. Monkey, record your squats, dude. Your squats are probably higher than giraffe pussy. Your squats probably just are on their way back from a Snoop Dogg concert. Okay, just own it. The benching, I don't know. You have weak pecs. You spent too much time on your delts and not enough on them titties. Bring them up. I have to force myself to drink water. I'd rather drink Gatorade because it tastes good and has electrolytes, but it's excess calories. I got Element, I got a whole case sent to me. Louis sent me a whole case of it for free from Keto Gains to try out, like a lot, like something like 80 servings of it. That's good. I also like the Dr. Berg's. If you just want ones that taste good, they're both no calories. The Dr. Berg's is cheaper if you buy the big container. Is it okay to add calories when bulking through oils high in PUFAs? Yeah, I think nuts and nut butters are great, actually. Don't necessarily do oils, but nuts are phenomenal. And they're PUFAs. My traps really took off since adding deadlifts for reps. Yeah, that's what I mean, Ryan. I don't mean by people maxing on deadlifts. I'm talking the rep work. Yep. Will sumo deadlift produce same gains as conventional? No, it will not. Nope. What are the best exercises to improve squat mobility? Learning to squat. Learning to squat better will improve your squat mobility. You need to learn how to open your hips up, turn your knees out, get your toes out. What are the best exercises? Oh, yes, I just covered that. How big are your arms and legs? Brian, I haven't measured recently, but if I had to guess, I do have a tape. if I were to estimate based upon, because of fat loss and cutting, my arms are down to 17 right now when I did check them a little while back. My legs are probably 29, maybe even 30 inches. Do you believe in fast and slow metabolisms? Nope, it's been debunked. Should I try to keep my ribs down during what? I don't, your ribs down. I don't understand. Why are my quads more sore when squatting at 60% intensity than at higher intensities, even when I keep the reps the same? I'm guessing I don't know, Nancy. There could be something going on with your training. I would say if the reps are the same, that shouldn't be the case. Maybe you're getting more force production. Maybe you're being more explosive at 60%. Do you think modern bodybuilding offers any good advice, or is all just upping the dose, bro? It's all upping the dose, bro. It has nothing to bring to the table except death and suffering. For your clients, do you ever program more than 5 consecutive sets for an exercise of rep work? Yes, sometimes. Not that often, but sometimes, yes. Jason, you should add sunflower seeds. No, I'm actually not doing any real nuts or seeds at the moment. I may work some back in later. I'm literally getting almost all my calories animal source, but I eat giant piles of vegetables. Do you have your grapplers do more weighted calisthenics work than your powerlifters? No, because my powerlifters often do a lot of calisthenics work. And actually, my fighters, I probably won't have them do much weighted at all. I'd love to see my fighters all doing 20 rep sets of pull-ups. What's going to be better for a fighter? They have to sustain that force production. So I don't have them do weighted generally at all. I mean, if I can get a grappler up to doing 5 sets of 20 on body weight pull-ups, he's a monster. Jason, did your shoulder fully heal? I suddenly got nagging anterior shoulder pain and can't bench without pain. Wondering if you fixed it fully. I'm currently pain-free, but I am watching it. Is eating too much peanut butter easy to get calories in with dangerous for health? Yeah, only if it makes you fat. There are other calorie sources, though, that are even worse to get fat on. So it's not the worst you could do. It's the being fat that's the biggest concern, though. Is it making you really fat? How much do you lose on a deficit or gain from blocks, since I only miss from the floor? Jim, that depends on a person's leverages and their weak links. Some people get stronger at a small deficit or a small block pull. Some people lose dramatically more. So there is no set rule, right? There is no set rule. Let me rephrase. Why do I lean back during overhead press? Is it because my shoulder mobility is poor? No, because that's where you're stronger at, like most people. Thanks so much for your time and expertise, Jason. Super helpful. You're welcome. For yourself, when you eat junk food in moderation, do you get cravings? Billy, I'm not capable of eating junk food in moderation. I don't have the ability. That's why I don't eat it. There is no open the container of ice cream and weigh it out and put it back in the freezer. If I open it, I have to eat the entire container, the whole thing. If I order a pizza, I have to eat the whole thing in one sitting. So I don't just get cravings, I binge. So I don't eat stuff like that for the most part. My last cheat day was technically my post weigh-in after this last meet. Before that, I had one on Christmas because I got delayed on a flight and I got stressed about it trying to get home and clients that need work. So I had some bacon cheeseburgers and a milkshake to feel better about having to spend an extra night out of town and not get back home to get clients caught up when a flight got canceled due to snow. Jason, you have said the front delts triceps are used more in a max bench than in rep work. I'm not understanding your question. It's getting complicated. Are you saying the same for squats and deadlifts? We don't have studies to confirm that. I figured your measurements were around there. Trolls are so stupid. Kids was telling me your legs are small. I was like, yeah, dude, my legs are not small. Where do you recommend shoulder position starting on deadlift? It's going to be relative to your levers. I wouldn't worry about shoulder position. Worry about hip position, and your shoulders will line up where they need to, but they need to be down and back. Okay. Tuck your lats in your back pockets. Like, that's important. Do you make your guacamole yourself or is it store-bought? I haven't been eating it much again lately, but I buy Holy Guacamole. That's the brand I buy. It is store-bought. Hey, coach, how do you deal with young men who literally have zero hamstring mobility? My friend cannot gips. You have to do tons of stretch reflex movements, Robert. It has to be loaded. Romanian deadlifts, good mornings, but I find RDLs helps a lot. Started doing more chins, kind of like what you're doing at the moment. So I only have a thick bar to do them with. It's a great grip builder. Do thick bars are awesome for that, for pull-ups or chin-ups. Boring but big prescribes 5x10 pull-ups, which I can just about manage to progress. Beyond that point, would you just add weight or reps? Add reps. You don't want to really go under 10 that often. I mean, you could do it in phases or single workouts to vary it up, but I would try to spend most of your time at 10 plus. Hey, Jason, you're getting most of your calories from animal products. Can you dive into that a little bit? I'm about 8 weeks into carnivore diet. I don't recommend carnivore, Billy. You need large amounts of vegetables every day. So my non-animal products are pounds of vegetables. Like if you look at some of my meals on Instagram I put up, you see the giant amounts of broccoli and spinach I eat. Actually, Billy, go to my Instagram. It's linked below under every video. You'll see an idea of what I eat. Although the last few days I've been pushing more and more protein. So I am doing a little more lower fat Greek yogurt. I've thrown in some egg whites, more protein powder. So I'm eating about probably close to 50% protein calories, but it's basically meat, dairy, eggs. Meat, dairy, eggs. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. Hey, coach, a powerlifting channel called whatever, I can't pronounce that, recently did an hour plus long podcast with Jim Wendler. He seems like a very down to earth man who just really loves football. Juan, I think that is a good way to describe Wendler. He's just, Wendler reminds me of just a good old country boy, me being originally from small town Texas, and I've spent time in Houston and in New Mexico and stuff, part of growing up. But he reminds me of basically a good old country boy. Basically, that's what he strikes me as. And I kind of spent part of my life in that environment. But he's just a down to earth, practical guy who loves strength and likes football. And I don't really see a problem with that. And he basically seems to just be about letting people do what makes them happy in life. Most functional exercise for 3-gun competition. I don't know that. That matters. Just get strong and work on your GPP and get good at shooting. Being in shape will help you, though. GPP will help because, again, it'll get that heart rate down. When doing hanging leg raises, my legs are always bent a little and never straight. Is a flexibility issue or weak abs? Or no, I mean, if there's a little bend, I have to do it that way. It's just my hamstrings. My hamstring size causes that because I have massive, you can see my hamstrings when I do them. I have massive, strong hamstrings, and they tend to want to pull a little bit of bend in my knee anyways. Not a big deal. I have strong enough abs to lift when I lift doing those leg raises. I get a phenomenal pump through my abs, my obliques, everything when I do them that way. All right. Jason, what are the pros and cons of forming leg raises using straps versus hanging from the bar? Your grip may be the limiting factor. Main difference between RDL and good morning, just too much to cover. It's a completely different fatigue management situation. And good mornings, you can use a lot more variety. RDLs, you can RDL or you can't. Can't change the exercise much. Good mornings, you can do a wider variety of stances due to the centers of gravity, the bar pass, the ability to change bars, the ability to do them off pins versus stretch reflex. It's kind of a Swiss Army knife, whereas in the RDL is a little more generic of a movement. But there is definitely a fatigue difference. RDLs are slightly more fatiguing just because of holding the bar in your hands. I'm able to comfortably perform strict reps of heavy standing behind the neck presses from a dead stop on my traps. Is necessarily problematic. It might be for long term. Yeah. I used to do behind the neck push presses on camera, Raj, and I don't have the best shoulder health these days. After the fact, now am I saying that automatically caused it? No. Can I say that might not have contributed? And it is a counterindicated movement. I would ask you, what do you think you're getting out of it? Is it really bringing anything magical to the table to justify maybe the 5% chance you're going to get hurt? Coach, do you think powerlifting should change from flat benching to incline benching? Nope. It has not been proven, Gianno, the incline bench builds less chest than the flat bench. It's been proven to be the opposite. Where'd you come up with this shit? Need for a ladder raise or just continue with overhead pressing? They're different movements for a different goal. I question how much side delt work people necessarily need. That's again a point of controversy. Will reducing volume on legs and chest help hypertrophy back if it's a weak link? No, it will not. More efficient work in your back will help bring up the weak link. Training your legs less will not automatically make your pecs or lats grow. It's not how it works. That's the sort of bullshit people come up with because they don't want to train legs just to be lazy. It's not true. JB, can push-ups help with bench press? Maybe for some people. Right? You need to squeeze your glutes hard to overpress to not lean back. Look, yeah, he is right. Alex, you already know why bodybuilding is a death cult. I predicted years ago they were going to drop like flies, and then what started happening? How about all the recreational drug use? How about all the gay prostitution? How about the excessive, massive drug abuse that is way beyond what you could probably comprehend as someone who doesn't use steroids, right? Because if you don't use gear, you have no concept of amounts. So if you were like someone who's been using gear a few years and then I were to tell you what pro bodybuilders use, your jaw would drop. You would actually be, how can they afford that? Where do they even get the money for that? Well, by selling their buttholes to other men, which then creates other health problems. It's a death cult. It's a death cult built around drug abuse, prostitution, and partying. And that's why they're all dying. Jason, is whey protein clean or is it junk food? I guess it's the closest thing to a junk protein since it's really processed and everything else, but I would still say that it's healthy. I mean, 6 one way, half a dozen the other. At the end of the day, though, I usually define junk food. I think the best definition I've ever heard for junk food is any food that is both low in protein and fiber. All right. I would say any food that is really high in protein or really high in fiber isn't a junk food. The highly processed foods that lack both is really what junk food is, that are kind of low in both. Do you base your opinions mostly on studies or personal experience? All of the above, and the opinions of top coaches in the world. I listen to what every good strength and conditioning coach with more than 20 years of experience says. I take it all in. I analyze it. I weigh it out. I reason it. I base it upon my experience coaching, my own experience observing other lifters and coaches I talk to. And then on top of it, I dig into the studies. This is why my opinion is willing to evolve over time, because I'm always trying to learn to be better. Right? All right. I'm going to start winding this down soon. So let me just get a few more questions here. Benny, one of my orcs, asked, what is best for longevity, raw single ply or multiply? I think raw is. I understand that the equipped guys make the other argument. I don't think it's based on reality. That was an old myth that was originally started when they first started selling equipment that will protect your joints. Why so many people now believe artificial sweeteners block fat loss and cause health issues? It's silly rumors and nonsense. The research doesn't actually support that. What's your opinion on sandbag carries for GPP? Ooh, I think that's a good one, actually. I think sandbag carries are a good form of GPP. And I think particularly when you have to carry them over one shoulder at a time because of the extra core stability involved. I think sandbag carries are all around good GPP work. I don't think that's a bad choice at all. Should I do powerlifting with my MMA training? You mean, should you train like a powerlifter to get bigger and stronger? Yes. Should you powerlift? Powerlifting is a sport. So if you're MMA training, that means you're just training for power. You're training for MMA, but you're not going to compete. So if you're powerlifting, that is your competitive sport. So you would then be a power lifter who practiced martial arts on the side for fun. So you kind of see what you're asking there. Now you can train both and only compete in one. But yeah, the powerlifting will carry over to your MMA. The power training will. Getting bigger and stronger will help you with your MMA. Indirectly, obviously, your skill is super important, right? Not saying that because someone can bench 500 pounds that they can automatically fight and that they're not going to get their ass handed to them in a cage match. It's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that a guy who benches 500 pounds and deadlifts 700 against a guy who's half his strength, who has the same skill level, is going to rip his head off. If I get this next salary increase, I might be able to afford coaching finally. Yes, and in an application if it happens. We'll see if you're a good candidate. I would qualify that longevity question by saying raw, but in weight classes under 220. I mean, yeah, Jim Vlog, being over 220 is bad for longevity for the most part, unless you're super tall anyways, because then you can be pretty lean. Is getting a belt squat machine worth it? Why or why not? I like the belt squat. Depends on the person, but if you have the space in the room for it, it's not a bad investment. Mainly because it lets you work all the muscles of the squat while keeping your back in traction, as far as the lower body muscles. Gary, I'm not a fan of the reverse grip bent over rows. It tears biceps too easy. I don't like it. If you use straps and RDL with the same stimulus fatigue, be good or bad as good mornings, or does the axial loading? No, the actual gripping it and holding it even with the straps makes it a little harder. Dragon, I don't want to cover all that because my best PRs aren't relevant to this decade. Does that make sense? I've been doing this for over 20 years. Of course, I got sick and spent 3 years off from training. So my lifetime PRs are not what I can currently do at age 45. And guess what? It's not necessary. The world records are less than my lifetime PRs in my current class. I can break the world records without ever hitting my lifetime PRs. So what are you asking? The heaviest things I've hit in the last few years? 605 on a cambered bar squat, but it wouldn't have made depth. I was a little heavier though. I've benched 352 several times with a close grip and a pause. You've seen me deadlift 625 in the last year, right? If you've watched, I did at a charity event, I pulled 625 on camera with an audience there. And you've seen me do gym lifts with 605 3 or 4 different times, and easily pull them in the gym. So, to give you an idea, I mean, what would my currents be? My bench is down. I'm rebuilding. My shoulder health is good. I mean, probably at the moment, I've got to repeat the deadlift up a little, low 600 to deadlift, probably low 500s on the squat, but the world record for my class is 534. My benching is low though. I need to get the benching back up. But, again, look at the world records from my class in the IPL, massive federation. All right. The world record is a 534 squat, a 391 bench, and a 584 deadlift. So, I mean, I'm going to be breaking some records coming up, and I may not need to max to break all of them. All right. So, Brian, so what were my all-time best? 605 squat, 425 bench, and a 655 deadlift. That was approximately 18 years ago. I also spent an entire year in bed after that. And I spent 3 years from no training and had to learn to walk again in between. So, I mean, there was a hell of a knockdown in my early 30s. But I mean, it's fair to say, I mean, you guys have seen me pull close to that already. You've seen me squats close to that because it was a cambered bar and it was high. But I've also done a 550 back squat on camera that would have been depth at a little higher body weight. So I've got to build back up to that. I would like to get back to the 550 at this lighter weight now that I've cut down. That'll put me a solid world and national record. And, definitely well into an elite lift. So I'd like to get back to about 550. But I've done 505 today and it wasn't a max. And I didn't have sleeves or anything on. Sleeves are allowed in meets. All right, guys. But I'm going to go ahead and wind this down. I hope it's been informative. I love all of you guys, and I will talk to you next time.